Hello, and welcome to this week's episode of the podcast. Anthony and Jeremy, how you guys doing?
I am
Real
doing pretty
good. How are you
good.
doing?
Coming off another loss. Uh,
Same with
Same,
me.
same
yeah.
here.
Me
Oh
Yeah.
wow,
too.
nice,
Awesome.
nice, nice. Well, I'm glad we're all in the same boat at least.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm dropping the standings a little bit. I'm at 6-4, fourth in my division, which really is a shame because I feel like my team has collapsed over the past couple weeks, and the problem is the trade deadline has passed. So you got the waiver wire, or you're stuck with the team you have, which I feel like is interesting to kind of maneuver through.
I mean, you're not really saying much to either of us. I'm at 10th and Jeremy's in last, so we're right there with you.
Yeah, this
So
podcast
You're
is
still in
not
the
the
playoffs.
bread and butter of the league.
No, no, not this year at least.
Mm-mm.
yeah,
You're
it's
still in the
been
playoff hunt, Jordan.
Yeah, I'm definitely in the hunt. It's Chip texted me the other day. He's like, Jordan, you have to win this week. And I was like, Chip, I'm trying. Trust me. I am always trying. But my problem has been my running backs. Ezekiel Elliott, he didn't have a game last week, but he just hasn't been doing anything since Dak got injured. So I feel like that's where I'm really struggling because my wide receivers, I'm confident in those guys just playing the right person at the right time. Running backs, it's running back by committee. I think Gallman is like my best bet right now, which is kind of sad.
Yeah, it's been an interesting year. It's definitely feels like the teams we're kind of seeing who's competitive and who's not.
Yeah, I'm looking at it right now, and the refrigerator's on a 5-game win streak, which is pretty insane. Um,
Nice.
it's kind of running away with it right now, but being only 8-2. But then you got the Marine City Cubbies and Rager Bombs right behind them. So that division is my division's pretty competitive right now.
Mm-hmm. Yep, it's a good division.
So one of the things I want to talk about this week is the Saints offense, which is going to be very different because Drew Brees has multiple broken ribs and a collapsed lung right now. So Jameis Winston is taking over, which, if they trust him, could be good for the wide receivers and Saints in general.
We'll see. I need something. Michael Thomas hasn't done anything for me all year, so I'm wholeheartedly embracing this new quarterback that the Saints are going to roll with.
Who
Yeah,
is the
it'll be
new
interesting.
quarterback? Can somebody remember who is I? Did you guys
It's
say
Jameis,
it's Jameis
famous
Winston?
James
Jameis.
Winston.
Okay.
Yeah.
I feel like he would fit into that offense pretty well, but it's hard to fill Drew Brees' shoes. I mean, he's Drew Brees. Like,
Well, and then at the same time, they have Kamara. So when in doubt, give the ball to him.
Yeah.
One of the best running backs in the league right now, especially for fantasy. I feel like him and Dalvin Cook are kind of running the table right now with fantasy. Usually Christian McCaffrey, but he's been injured on and off. So um, Dalvin Cook and Alvin Kamara are probably the two best players I would say right now to have on your team.
yep.
And for for Jameis, I feel like they might. The only thing that'd be bad with him is they might split his reps with Taysom Hill. So maybe I don't know who has Jameis right now, or if anyone has him.
He'd
But
be
that's the only thing I'd
somebody
be worried
different
about.
has him.
Yeah, that's the only thing I'd be worried about if Taysom Hill gets his snaps too, because Sean Payton has said in the past that Taysom Hill is the next quarterback of the Saints when Drew Brees retires. Um, but last year Teddy Bridgewater became the starter for a couple weeks, and then this year Jameis is being the starter for a couple weeks. So it's really weird how that offense kind of stacks up because of the how they use Taysom Hill in such like a multi-tool kind of way.
Hmm. Jordan, how can I use that information to draft better players next year? Because
So
that's why I tune in to this podcast, the one that I'm on, is so that next year I know what I can do that is better than what the bad things that I'm doing right now.
So in my eyes, I knew Drew Brees was gonna miss some time this year, because if you looked at last year when it came playoff time, he couldn't get the ball down the field.
Hmm.
So either he was gonna get injured or they're gonna sit him if they were in a great position. So I knew Drew Brees wasn't going to start the whole year. He might not even play next year. He might retire.
He
So
could.
that's what I would look at too. Just how the Saints offense stacks up. The one constant there is Alvin Kamara. Alvin Kamara produces no matter what. Michael Thomas, like you said, Anthony has been doing much recently,
Hmm.
and that's kind of the thing with receivers. They can explode for 53 points, or they could have dud weeks like Michael Thomas has.
Yeah, well, last year, even with Bridgewater in, he was having a great year. I mean, he had a ton of catches last year, a ton of targets, very consistent. But the injuries this year, which you can't ever predict injuries. It just seems like he's not right, and
Yeah,
they've relied on other weapons for 9 weeks this year, 10 weeks. They kind of get used to not using them. So
and maybe he
I mean,
isn't happy with the Saints. Maybe he's on the move this offseason, like Matthew Stafford might be because his wife hates Michigan. Um,
Is that true? I
well,
would
she
I would
said on
hate I
Instagram Live
if I was
that
Matt
she's
Stafford's
tired
wife,
of living in this.
I would fucking hate the city of Detroit so much.
Well, she said that she's tired of living in this dictatorship they call Michigan. So
Oh my. So
they might want out of here pretty
I
soon,
feel
which
like
I don't blame Stafford.
I feel like Stafford, like very personally, has been very not that. Like a lot of the things he's done publicly has been very like not in line with that. So I wonder if there's some feuding in the Stafford household
Well,
about
I
this.
mean, and I don't see Stafford staying along the lines for a while or for that much longer. I think if Big Ben retires, he could go to the Steelers.
That would be a
Um,
really good. I think it would make a really good Steelers team.
if Philip
Still
Rivers
good.
moves on from Indianapolis, I think he could go to the Colts. I'd see that happening. There's a couple spots he could land,
The
and who
Bears.
knows? And that he would never go to the Bears, or
Come
they wouldn't trade him
on.
to the Bears.
We'll trade you
Um,
Mitch.
but that's one of those things. Look out for next year, just where these players end up, because I feel like there's going to be a lot of movement in the offseason, especially because the salary cap is so much less next year that some players are just going to have to get cut, and players that you wouldn't expect, just so teams can like afford to put a decent team on the field. So if you're asking for next year, it's all wait and see at this point. Because players could very much be on the move. Like J.J. Watt, he transforms the defense. I don't think he's going to be with the Texans next year. They're going to have to rebuild, but which is going to be hard because they have no draft picks. But it's next year is going to be very different than this year. I think so.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I feel like not a lot of moves were made off season apart from like big names like Antonio Brown floundering to find a team last off season. Like there really wasn't a lot of like elite quarterbacks I can't think of that changed hands.
Well, Tom Brady and Philip Rivers switched
Yeah.
teams, and then honestly, Jameis Winston could have been the starter for Tampa Bay if Tom Brady wasn't available.
Mm-hmm.
Um, so and then the
well,
49ers are
James
probably
James had what he had like the most number of touchdowns and
he
the
had the
most
highest.
number of interceptions last year.
Yeah, and he also had the highest passing yardage. So like,
Yeah, and then he
dude can
was really
sling it. Then he
yeah.
got LASIK. He can see now.
That probably helps
So
a little bit.
that helps.
That's not.
You got don't forget you had Cam moving too. Not
Yeah,
that he's
Cam.
really a top end, but Cam moved.
That's still a big too. And Cam's only on a 1 year deal, I think. So like honestly, he could be on the move next year too.
He could come to Detroit.
Um,
People talked about him coming to Detroit last time Stafford's contract was up.
I would have been happy with Tua. And Tua is one of those studs who he's
C said
playing
it was
great right
easy.
now.
Said the NFL was easier than he thought it would be.
Well, yeah, and like when you saw Tua get put in that starting role, you kind of thought, wait, Miami's doing really well right now. They won their last two games. They're in like first place in this division. Why is Tua replacing Fitzmagic? And then Tua's on like a 2 or 3 game win streak.
Oh, it's because he's a better quarterback than
Yeah.
Well,
Ryan
at
Fitzpatrick.
first week it wasn't because of Tua. That was because of the defense.
Yeah.
But since then,
Yeah,
he's definitely getting it going.
yeah. He had a shootout with Justin Herbert, and then he battled Kyler Murray too. And I
Mhm.
think he lost that one against Kyler. No, he won against
They
Kyler
won,
Murray.
yeah. It's 1-3 and he won.
Yeah, 3 game win streak. But Tua is one of those guys. I think Chip picked him up this year off like the waiver wire or something. That's a great keeper option for next year. It's a low cost quarterback that he's going to have instead of risking something else and picking someone like the 6th round or something like that and reaching.
Well, he's got Dak, so there's a good chance he keeps Dak, depending on if Dak comes back.
Yeah, does Dak come back, and where does Dak play if he doesn't play in Dallas? That's another big thing, because I mean, Dak and his team have been kind of adamant that they want a lesser year contract. Dallas wants 4 years for a quarterback contract. Dak wants 3, so he can get into free agency again and get paid again. So it's really, and Jerry Jones doesn't want that. So it really depends on where players go, which I think is going to be huge this offseason.
Isn't he still on his rookie contract?
Dak's been franchise tagged a few times, I
Okay.
think,
Because they're
or
not
at least
like
once.
he's not getting paid in Dallas. Like he could make so much more money anywhere else.
Well, especially when you see Patrick Mahomes $500 million contract. I
Yeah,
mean, you as a quarterback, a younger quarterback, you look at that and say, why can't I get that? Like Lamar
yeah,
Jackson, he's gonna want that. No one's gonna give it to him because he hasn't been the same this year. Either that's Ravens game planning or it's just Lamar being getting figured out. It's weird because he was such a stud last year and he still is a stud. He's just not producing the same numbers that he did last year.
okay. Do you guys want to
So
get into how the games went last week, or do we want to? We could breeze past that real quick. Um,
Yeah, it was
s-
really bad.
yep,
Like the whole league
it
was
was
really bad
real
last
bad.
week.
yeah.
It was a pretty piss week. Let's take a look here. Was that week 10? It was week 10, right? Yep. I
Yep.
lost
Okay.
84 to 103 to Busted Lip. Anthony lost 70.9 to Cubbies with 135. No Pants 128. Jordan, the juice is loose. A pittance 72.9. Rager
Yeah, when
Bombs
Philip Lindsay gets you 2
95.
yards.
Okay. Now the excuses come out. Rager Bombs
So
inches past Ditka in a box by 3 or so points. We got Hempire Strikes Back or Chip falling to Refrigerator. Is Refrigerator the person that I beat Refrigerator?
I
That's
do not
hilarious if
know.
I beat them. AJ lost 79 to 128 to Lions Kool-Aiders. So yeah, the rich get richer this week in fantasy football. Basically, I think every team apart from Jordan, the team who was higher seeded won, except for Jordan's. Yeah. So
It's
predictable
yeah.
week. The better teams are staying better.
I tried to. I was thinking about making a push, trying to trade Lamar for a running back at some point last week, but then I figured I don't trust Derek Carr as much as I want to because I picked him up, and I do believe that Raiders offense is actually really good. Um, they're like second place in their division to the Chiefs, which I mean can't really blame them. But Derek Carr doesn't have the floor that Lamar has. Because I feel like if Lamar doesn't have a great game passing, he's at least gonna have a decent game running. So he has a higher floor, but I don't know. I'm kind of worried at this point.
Yeah, it's getting to that. It's getting. If I were you, I'd be a little worried. I'm
Yeah,
up
and
for
then
a new quarterback, like maybe Tom Brady.
well, the trade deadline's past you.
Oh,
So
is it?
yeah,
That sucks.
so it's free agency at this point. Um, yeah, my running back struggles. Gallman's been my top guy, and Jamal Williams or whatever his name is for Green Bay, he's been up there too. Ezekiel Elliott and Philip Lindsay are kind of duds right now, but we'll see what happens.
Yeah.
And
Okay.
then my receivers, I feel like it's just putting in the right guys at the right time because I have the other two Green Bay receivers. I have Valdez Scantling and then Lazard, who's healthy again. And then I have Mike Evans, who I don't know what to do with because Mike Evans either gets like 20 points or he gets 0 points. So what do I do? I don't know.
What can you do?
Michael Thomas on the block.
Um, you still have that keeper though for Michael Thomas, and honestly, if he gets moved, that might be the value of that keeper might go up too.
Depends where he goes.
Yeah. Um, One thing I also want to say is Herbert got he looks 16 again, and I think it's only going to make him better. You saw his haircut. His
Oh, I
strength and
missed it.
conditioning coach cut his hair.
Did he? That's funny.
Yeah, and he looks like he's 15 years old. But Herbert, I feel like I think No Pants and Smart still has him. He's one of those guys like even if the Chargers aren't winning, he's gonna throw the ball to Keenan Allen and get so many points. So again, one of those rookie players who's having a big impact this year.
Hmm.
I think Adam is probably, well, at least entertaining keeping Herbert next year over uh, Deshaun Watson.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that Texans team, I don't know what you do with them because they need a new coach and then they have no draft picks and they trade away DeAndre Hopkins who can catch the ball over 3 people. It's just insane.
Yeah, it makes you wonder what they were thinking when they did that. Like I get bringing David Johnson. You think maybe he's the shell of the player that he used to be, or maybe he's not. Maybe he's couldn't still go back to being David Johnson, but you're trading away a wide receiver who's top three in the league at his prime.
Well, and they trade him away and then fired the coach like 2 weeks later. the coach and
Yeah.
GM. Bill O'Brien was the coach and GM, but like that's kind of his last send off. Like, screw you guys, we're getting rid of this guy.
Yeah.
Um, Anthony, what's your strategy going forward to try to muster together some wins?
At this point, I'm kind of considering the season a loss. Like the past 2 weeks, losing in the fashion that I did, it's done.
Yeah.
Stick a fork in it. So I'm just
I feel a similar way.
Get ready for that toilet bowl.
yeah. So we'll see. But no, it's just a ton of underperformance going on my team all across the board, and I'm pretty much. It's hard not to have just had it with this team. So
Yeah.
I am
So
sick
I know
of
players
looking
that
at my players'
contract-
stupid faces after they disappoint me week in, week out.
Then you get like the Yahoo recap, and I'm like, I don't want to look.
It's
at this.
always Tom Brady. My favorite player is always Tom Brady. I never even have him in, and it's always telling me to buy Tom Brady's jersey on the homepage of my Yahoo Fantasy Football. I can't stand it every time seeing him. I want to get him off my team just so I don't have to see his stupid face every time I log in to goddamn Fantasy Football. I'm tired of you, Tom Brady. Retire. Okay.
That Buccaneers
I
team is
digress.
so weird because like they have so many weapons, and then
They have an
you
old
watch.
man throwing to them.
Well, yeah, but they have so many weapons, and they're not. I don't even think they're winning their division. I think the Saints are winning their division right now,
Mhm.
and that offense on paper looks unstoppable. But they've struggled like a couple times. Sometimes they blow teams out. Sometimes they struggle against like the Giants, and barely
well,
scrape.
the offense is built for
Jameis.
yeah, it's not built for Tom. Like who's he gonna dink and dunk to? Because
At
Gronk
this,
is not playing like Gronk of years past.
well,
Which I don't think anyone expected him to. Right? He came out of retirement.
at this point, Gronk is
Um,
more of a red zone target, and just for that.
yeah.
So like,
But there's no like dink and dunk that. I mean, Tom's not a deep ball quarterback.
and he hasn't been his whole career. I feel like, except for when he had
Right.
Randy Moss on his team, maybe.
Yeah.
But
Um,
the past couple of years, he's throwing to people that you get in the Walmart parking lot, and Bill Belichick makes them all-star wide receivers. I mean, I don't think Brady is built for that. I agree with you. Brady's not built for that offense, and I don't know how you fix that if it's the running game or because they have decent running backs. They got Ronald Jones and they got Leonard Fournette and even LaShawn McCoy, who I don't think has seen a snap this year.
yeah. No, the running backs I don't think are the problem. I think it's Brady and the wide receivers getting on the same page. I haven't watched many of their games, but I feel like every time it gets switched to it in red zone or something like that, it's Brady not connecting with one of his wide receivers.
Yeah, and I think Scotty Miller, who's one of those guys that don't get talked about a lot, but I feel like every time I watch a game, they're talking about Scotty Miller getting the ball, and he's just one of those short, quick guys that maybe Brady's used to throwing to in New England. He's smaller and he lesser known name, and he just dumps off to him. But he has Mike Evans and Chris Godwin and Antonio Brown now. How can you not throw the ball around that field and
Just throw the ball
over
up.
40 points?
They're gonna get it.
I mean, at
No,
this
that's
point,
the thing. With those three wide receivers, we shouldn't be hearing about the Scotty Miller.
Mm-hmm.
exactly. And with those three
we still
receivers,
are. It's like, okay, there's something wrong here on this team.
Maybe he just
Yeah.
can't throw it that far.
people
I wouldn't be shocked.
coming into the season, people said Brady's arm looked as good as it ever looked, but was he really ever known for having a cannon? I don't think so.
No, he wasn't. He was known for not having a cannon. Maybe
He's not
you
like
know
a
what it is.
Stafford or Patty Mahomes kind of guy.
The
who can
humidity,
just-
the balls have more air in them because it's hot. It's it's higher pressure, and he's used to throwing cold New York balls.
New York,
with less
New
air,
England,
or
Jordan.
New England balls with less air in them.
No one likes New England
Maine balls. Is that where Gillette Stadium is? It's in Boston, right? Massachusetts.
Yeah, Massachusetts. One of those other players I kind of want to talk about this year who's kind of been not as good as people thought. Carson Wentz. What's happened to him? I mean, other than injuries on his
Philly
team.
offense, right? The whole Philadelphia offense kind of.
Yeah, but I mean, Carson Wentz, he turns the ball over 4 times a game. It feels like, and he's one of those guys who's in the MVP conversation in the past couple of years. I feel like there's something wrong with quarterbacks this year. I don't know what it is.
Matt Ryan's kind of the same way down in Atlanta.
Yeah, Matt Ryan has been underperforming compared to years past.
Matt Ryan could be another one of those guys that's on the move. He gets paid a lot of money, and Atlanta's going to want to rebuild soon anyway. And I don't see
Which is
Julio
crazy with the wide receivers they have, right?
Yeah, with Julio and Calvin Ridley, and then Gage. Is that the other one?
Gage, yeah, Gage is number 3. You look at the wide receivers, you're like, okay, you're stacked. Your running back, I mean, Gurley, I think was always thought of as a band aid, get
Yeah,
through a year. So, but who knows? I'm not real familiar with their offensive line. The line could be probably is a disaster.
yeah. And I mean, Julio, he had trade rumors earlier this year too. He very well could be on the move after this year. It's going to be really interesting to see how many star players are going to get either cut or traded from their teams and where they're going to end up because I feel like the Lions could be drafting a quarterback. I think they should draft a quarterback, if especially if Kelly Stafford says that we live in a dictatorship in Michigan. Um, I
I
don't know.
Matthew Ryan is going to be the next
Matthew
quarterback
Ryan.
of the Detroit Lions, and this is why. Him and Matthew Stafford are very close friends off the
They
field.
play charity basketball together.
And because the Detroit announcers love hearing about Matthew Stafford and Clayton Kershaw so much, they're not going to be able to resist the sheer universal pull to get them to talk, to get them to not shut up about how Matt Ryan used to be friends with Detroit's last quarterback, who was really good friends with Clayton Kershaw in elementary school. And I think that because the universe just wants the announcers to talk about stupid shit during every Lions game, Matthew Ryan is going to be the next quarterback of the Detroit Lions. When it happens, you heard it here first.
I say we don't even know who the next, general manager is of the Lions. So let's not
Neither
get
do the
ahead of
Lions.
ourselves.
Matthew
Bob Quinn's
Patricia
got it
doesn't
figured
even know
out.
if he's going to be it next year. Bob Quinn's playing 8D chess.
Just a heads up, Matt Prater is in the lead right now for the longest field goal of the year, which means that the whole city of Detroit will be getting Bud Light as of right now.
Which for a
Um,
past alcoholic is just sheer karmic.
he doesn't drink anymore.
He can't even enjoy all of his hard work, all of his hard leg work. Matthew
For the
Prater
Lions,
is the best. He's my favorite NFL player.
he's great. Um, for the Lions too, Swift has really broken out the past couple games. I feel like too. I feel like we're kind of seeing that transition from less of Adrian Peterson to more of DeAndre Swift, and even less of Kerryon Johnson, who I feel like is only on the field like when Swift needs to catch his breath.
The running backs are such a mess in the Lions.
Remember Zach
There's
Zenner?
no rhyme or reason. You got so much draft capital in running backs, and you don't even use Kerryon Johnson.
Didn't we draft 2 running backs this year too? We drafted Swift and then another guy in like the 3rd round or something like that. I don't know.
I wouldn't be surprised.
Not a tight end.
We draft running backs like Matt Millen drafts wide receivers.
Yeah. We even pick
Yeah.
running backs off free agency, hold them up on pedestals, and then pretend like the Lions shouldn't be blamed when they put all this time and money into garbage running back candidates.
Well, another thing for the Lions too, Kenny Galladay, his rookie deal's coming to an end pretty soon, and he's going to demand a lot of money. So again, I feel like I'm repeating myself. He could be on the move, or if we trade him now, I guess the trade deadline's probably passed. Yeah, it is. But Kenny Galladay might not be a Detroit Lion for too much longer, and that's kind of worrisome.
Which is wild. I don't know how you let a guy like that go. I mean,
He's a
unless he wants something stupid.
Yeah, and when he's healthy, he's a top 10 wide receiver in the league, I feel like. I mean, he's right up there with the best of them. So, I mean, how can you not re-sign him? Like, I don't get it. Lions are inept. I don't get it.
Well, look at what they did with Slay. He was a good player for the Lions. He was one of our best cornerbacks, and then they just nope, done. So yeah,
Well,
I can see I can really see them doing that with this good young receiving core that they have, just totally pissing them away, not wanting to pay them.
Matt Patricia and Slay had some differences because Slay thought that he was an elite wide receiver, and Matt Patricia said, "You wish," or cornerback, I should
Yeah.
say.
Well, he
And Patricia
was.
said, "No, you wish."
He is. It's like everybody in every other team in the league is like, "Hey, can we have that elite cornerback?" And Matthew Patricia's like, "You're not an elite quarterback." Matthew Patricia might be one of the worst coaches that the Lions have had, and that's saying a lot.
I miss Jim Caldwell.
Everybody misses Jim Caldwell, Jordan. Everybody misses Jim Caldwell.
Yeah, and I feel like for fantasy especially, this Lions team is such a hit or miss team. I mean, Galladay obviously is a great player, and so is Swift, but I just don't trust the Lions to be consistent.
Yeah.
They could get shut down by any decent defense, and they don't have a. If you have the Lions defense, I don't know why. Like they
Because
haven't
you're a
been
masochist.
a. Um,
You hate yourself and you want to feel and you want to have the most points scored against you, or the least points scored. Speaking of the most points scored against, let's take another look at that real quick before we get into the matchups next week. I'm leading the pack with 1,364. Right behind me, not right
Anthony's
behind me,
pretty close to you.
is Chip with
Chip's pretty.
1,257. That's the closest one. So yeah, I'm still pulling away. I still have the fewest. My goal is to not have the fewest points for. I think that's something I can actually try to attain before the end of the league.
Yeah, and like I said, for you guys, it's pretty much just planning for next year. Um, Getting some low end keepers or some good value keepers, I should say. I feel like I have a couple good value keepers like Justin Jefferson and who else do I have? I mean, Will Fuller has been a number one wide receiver this year. He is a great asset for the Texans. Um, he's like the one other player that Deshaun Watson throws to. So besides Brandon Cooks, I think, but who cares about him?
No, I'm kind of in the same boat. I've got some potentials. Like Michael Thomas is still there. He'll be a 13th round 13th round keeper.
I
Sorry,
sent
I'm
you guys
being
photos.
distracted.
I texted you. I sent you a photo of Tom Brady peeking at me on the corner of my screen. I just looked and he was there, and I didn't even notice it during that while I was talking. It literally just keeps showing
Oh,
up Tom Brady.
Anthony, you bastard! Added Jameis Winston as we're talking about him.
Oh yeah, I'm looking. I'm like, oh, he's still out there.
I thought
Guess I'm
someone
gonna
had to
get
pick him
him.
up.
Oh yeah, I this is the first time I've looked since Sunday. I didn't even look at. I knew I was going to lose my game. I'm very disheartened right now. But anyway, keepers for next year. AJ Brown is still probably one of my keepers.
Mm-hmm.
He had a bad week last week, but he's been pretty good. And I really like Deontay Johnson with Pittsburgh. So
Deontay Johnson is amazing. Like all of Pittsburgh's wide receivers, I feel like are decent keepers. Especially like Claypool.
Yeah, Claypool's another one of those guys. He's a last round for Nick. So
Yeah. Um,
um,
I trade away my 10th draft pick next year. Dang it.
Oh no.
I have two 17th rounders though. Yeah, for me, I feel like it's gonna be probably Justin Jefferson and I don't even know who else. Marquez Valdez Scantling maybe. By the way, Anthony, I do have AJ Green on my team right now, so
You can't go
okay.
pick him up
why
off the waiver.
why not? I picked up one of your Bengals guys.
All right, let's get into this week's matchup. I'm going against Depression, AJ, in a bottom of the barrel type game where two old men are going to slap fight each other and see who can score less than 100 points. Anthony's going up against Chip. Big game of the week. I'm calling it. Chip predicted 134. Anthony at 122. I think this one could go long. We'll see how it looks this week, folks. No pants since March. Lions Kool-Aiders. No pants since March predicted in the upset against the better record team. Rager Bombs and Cubbies both 7-3. We got 114 from the Rager Bombs, going at 136 from the Cubbies. Cubbies are it could win. Like they're definitely in that pool of like teams that could hit and have been hitting. Busted Lip 135 against My Dick in a Box 112. Busted Lip's going to try and pull away some of that lead from My Dick in a Box. And then finally Jordan the Juice is Loose 122 predicted up against right now the league winner, the Refrigerator.
Yeah, just my luck. The week I need a win, I play the number one team in the league.
Yeah.
Anything could happen though, you know. Maybe
You
Tyler
never know.
Lockett goes off for 53 points again. I'm hoping.
Fingers
Uh,
crossed.
Justin
you never
Jefferson has a
know.
great matchup this week. Who's he playing? I saw he had a great matchup. I didn't really pay attention to who. Dallas. So and Tyler Lockett's playing Arizona, which is a decent matchup. So and then Logan Thomas is going against Cincy. So I have decent matchups this week. It's just my team hasn't been performing very well. I think I've scored under 100 points the last like 2 or 3 weeks. So
Try scoring 70 points. Try scoring 139 points over 2 weeks total.
I would
You
like
know
to score
anything?
139 points. I would like to do that a lot. Um,
No, total.
I
2
know.
weeks. Add up 2 weeks.
Yeah, I think I've had a few that were over that. There's been a couple. I probably had a couple 2 week stretches where I didn't break 140. No way. I had to. If I've scored it. Oh no, I did. There are weeks where I scored less than 70 points.
Yeah, it's been a bad stretch.
It's
I was the biggest blowout. I was a loser in the biggest blowout for the past 2 weeks straight.
That sucks. That's tough.
Happens. That's fantasy football, baby.
Oh,
All right, you guys got anything else?
that's all I
I
got
do
tonight.
not. Yeah, that's all I have. We talked about league awards last week. Hey,
It's finals week. I got
things are going
stuff to
on.
do.
Jordan's got finals. The world is convulged in a giant, deadly pandemic that has, as of this week, I
Oh,
think.
are we going to be doing a special holiday special Thanksgiving edition podcast next week?
Maybe.
I'd rather not do it on Thanksgiving, but
Maybe
I could do
Thanksgiving
it Thanksgiving
morning.
morning.
We'll wake up and get into it, or
I guess we
Thanksgiving
could.
night
Yeah,
after
you guys-
turkey.
yeah,
I could do it in the morning.
I would
yeah.
be
If
done.
you guys want to do a special like pajamas edition, we could
Yeah, in
probably
the
make that
morning.
happen.
We'll wake up. I'll get my my
coffee
Thanksgiving
going.
outfit on, whatever that
Yeah.
means.
Yeah, Jamie, what's your
My
Thanksgiving outfit?
Thanksgiving clothes. Yeah, my Thanksgiving
You got a
costume.
onesie you're gonna be wearing?
You know, everybody wears their Thanksgiving costume that I'll decide on after I get off this podcast, or the morning of
Sounds like a plan.
Thanksgiving, more likely. All right, guys. Thank you so much for watching. We'll see you next week.
All right. Good luck
Peace
this
out.
week, guys.
Yep.
See you.